All right, this is going to be the last video. I'm going to wrap this up. I tried to explain to you the differences in skull morphology and why we have certain people in certain places. And then now I'm going to go over certain time frames. Because if you follow genetic studies on the ancient Americas, you'll see that the geneticists, they know all the information I'm telling you. But the people that they work under and work for do not want to circulate that truth of information. So what they do is they use the average person's ignorance towards science against them. So if you asked a geneticist today that's in the Western academia and you asked him, okay, well, how do we know that the American Indians were the first people in the Americas? And they'll tell you that the ancestors of the American Indians have the closest genetic relation to the people who live today. And that's not a lie. But what happens is with that wording, you don't understand what that person was saying unless you know some scientific background and some scientific history, which I do. So I can explain even to that person who probably doesn't know that they're telling an erroneous statement based on how they're manipulating the ignorance of people. Now, the people in the upper echelon of Western academia, believe me, they know all of the stuff I'm telling you, but they don't want you to know. And so they don't teach it in their courses. They'll teach you the ancestors of the American Indians, and the American Indians have the most similar genetic co-relationship. So those are the people. And then I've even heard some people say the argument is finished. We already know who the first Americans were. But that's a bunch of bull, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to explain it to you why, and I dare anybody to come up with some genetic information to contradict what I'm saying. Once you learn and understand what I'm saying, then I guarantee you'll agree with me. All right, first of all, we'll talk about chronology. How long have white and Asian people been existing on the planet? We already know. There was no white or Asian people before 15,000 years ago. There were no white people before 10,000 years ago. They did not exist on the planet. But there is evidence of humans in the Americas up to 30,000 years ago or more. I've heard some people make the claim of 150, although I haven't seen the evidence. But I haven't seen the 30,000-year-old evidence, and it was a carving on a mammoth bone. Now, also, there's evidence of 13,000 and 14, up to 13,000, I'm sure of. I'm not sure about the 14,000, but there's evidence of 14,000-year-old humans in the Americas and in different places. But what they don't tell you is there's also different types of humans found in the Americas at that age range. Now, there's one type they'll tell you it's Mauritanian, because they don't want to say that these people are African migrants. When they say somebody is Melanesian or Mauritanian, or they say Polynesian, what they're really saying is these are black African migrants. Or they say Australoid. These are really black African migrants, but they don't want to tell you that. And if you don't understand what this term means, then you'll say, okay, well, they weren't black. But that's a black African. If they say the skull morphology is European or Caucasian, if it's more than 10,000 years ago, you'll know that that's not a white person. Because I remember I taught you already, Caucasian doesn't mean white. So if you have somebody with a Caucasian or European skull morphology in the Americas, that was a black African migrant in the Americans who had that skull morphology. They didn't have the white skin, and they didn't adopt the culture and the paradigm of today's Caucasian people, but they were of the original Caucasian skull morphology. So to deny that is like going to the Andamanese Islands and saying those people aren't black because they have Asian DNA. See, what happens is scientists use terminology to confuse you. And if you don't have a background in the sciences, you won't understand the terminology. But anybody that was alive before 10,000 years ago was a black African migrant. And they had black African morphology, which means if you saw them on the street, you'd say that they were black. The original Hawaiians, black. The original Filipinos, black. The original Japanese, black. The original Koreans, black. The original Aboriginal Americans, black. All these people, and there's tons and tons of evidence to back it up. But all you need to know is understand the science, and you can back it up with scientific proof. See, so then white people will say, well, they weren't black, like there is a such thing as a black, like an African. But this is what I tell them. I say, if these people weren't black, then you can't claim the Irish, you can't claim the Italians, you can't claim the Greeks, you can't claim the Romans. This is your boy Key coming at you. You can't have it both ways. This has been an education. I hope you